Good morning, friends and astrology enthusiasts. It's Thursday morning here, April 13th, 2017. It's about 9:40 a.m. right now. The sun is rising pretty quickly, that exalted Aries sun, so I've got to have this hat on so I don't get too sunburned. So I hope you can see my face all right, but I'm going to start a little introductory lesson here today. So we're going to start by talking about the grahas, because that's what astrology really kind of boils down to in a lot of ways. So it's all about the planets, okay? Everything else from astrology really is extrapolated from that, from the planets. So the signs, the houses, the everything else is done from the initial 7 archetypes of the grahas, or the planets. So we know them in the West, or most people are just familiar with the planets being called the planets. But really, that's just what we say because no one knows the word graha. But the grahas, that is the name for the planets in Sanskrit. So in India, that's the word they would use. What does that word mean? Graha means a grabber or a seizer or a grasper, something that takes hold of you. So it doesn't actually mean it has to be a planet. And so in the same way, the moon is not a planet, the moon is considered a moon. The sun is considered a star, not technically a planet. Um, in our context, those are planets. We're not doing astronomy, we're doing astrology, okay? Um, Likewise, Rahu and Ketu, those are just mathematical points where the eclipses occur. And so those are not physical spaces, and those are only even really existing at the times of the eclipse. But they're still grahas because they grab us and they make us do things. And since time immemorial, people have begun to notice this, and that's why Rahu and Ketu and the eclipses are very important. And the eclipses are very important in all ancient cultures since ancient times. Even in Europe, they were really important. And when I get around to talking about William Lilly more, William Lilly was a great astrologer in England in the 16th century, no, 17th century. It was, I think, the 1600s, so it was the 17th century. I might be a little bit off on that, but he was around that time. And he was really and truly the most influential person in Europe at the time of his life, and he literally caused all of England to go to a standstill based on his warning, based on a solar eclipse. I forget the exact warning, but the entire country, he was so accurate with his predictions and so right every time using just prajna, which I'm very big on, talked about in other videos. Uh, just using prajna, he was so accurate. He would make an almanac. He would be right about so many things that when he warned about the solar eclipse coming, literally all of England shut down that day. No one did business. No shop opened. No one. No one left the house if they didn't have to. And that was called Black Monday or something. It was the first black day, like how we have Black Friday and whatever. When the economy crashed, it was Black Tuesday or something like that. So that he actually started the first one with his eclipse warning. But anyways, eclipses are a big part of our culture, and even here in America and in the West, and Christianity has. I'm not saying anything against it, but it's just kind of swept that under the rug, as well as a lot of astrology knowledge and our culture. So you can read about that a little bit more, but I just want you to know that. Anywho, um, there are grahas that are physical, actual planets, and then there are other just forces that are considered to be grahas, and they're about the same in the psychological standpoint, and the standpoint of how they work in astrology. So another interesting thing about the word graha is that this is actually the etymological root of where we get the word grab, grasp, gravity, gratify, um, and I think a few other ones that I'm not remembering, but that's that's where we actually get that word from. And a lot of English, the roots of English are mainly from Sanskrit, So it's really a lot of fun you can have with etymologies of words. A lot of them come from Sanskrit, and a lot of them have astrological origins either from India or from Europe. And you can read more about that on my blog. Uh, Look up the post etymology and astrology. But anyways, let's talk about the grahas. So these are really the initial forces that determine everything. These are the conscious forces in the chart. Okay, so the things that are actually people that are doing stuff, that's the planets. The signs are the unconscious forces of the chart. The signs are the bodies of the people that are ruled by the planets. So, like the sun is the father, has a say on your father. It has a say on authorities in your life. It has a say on your own self, your own soul, and your own body and your own health. So, the sun being in Aries, Aries is a big bodied sign. One of the signs that Parashara says are larger. So you got a sun sign in Aries, you might, that's one indication that you'll be a bigger person, or that maybe your father will be a bigger bodied person. If the sun is in Taurus, Taurus is a tall sign, long, it stretches things out. So then maybe you're taller, maybe your father is taller, or whatever things that the sun rules in your chart are taller. Sun can rule all kinds of things depending on your chart. So then let's look at the moon. The moon can have a say on your own emotions, it can have a say on your mother. Mars can have a say on your brothers. Whatever your ruling planet is, say your ruling planet is Mars, then it has more of a say on you. So then you put Mars in a small sign like Scorpio, you get a smaller person, a more slender body. So this is how the signs actually have a huge say on our body. The reason my body is the way it is because of the Rashis that my planets occupy and all of that. It's got a lot to do with that. The reason everyone is unique. It's also really interesting because twins will oftentimes have the average twin is born. I want to say when I looked this up, it was 15 minutes apart. So really that's a good chunk of time. Your Navamshas and things are changing. So many things are changing in your Vargas that you have a different life. That's a totally different person. But the Rashi chart actually will stay very similar oftentimes. The aspects will change, but a lot of the bulk of it will stay the same in 15 minutes. And the Rashi chart is the chart of the body. So we would think those twins should have a similar body. Well, that is essentially what it means to be a twin, is to have the same body. You know what I mean? To be like, have a person who looks just like the other body of the person born at your time. And so, at first when I was getting into astrology, I was like, well, how does it explain twins and all that? Is that a problem there? No, it actually explains it amazingly. You just have to get really good at astrology first to understand it all. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to study the charts of twins. Moving forward. So this is how the grahas work. They are the conscious forces and people in our chart. Venus is our wife's consciousness. Jupiter is our children. Whatever planet is our ruling planet is again our own consciousness and the type of consciousness we will have that makes us more unique. Um, that that's probably the most important factor to understand. And when I began to understand this main distinguishing, the signs are the places, the bodies, the environments, the spaces, the planets are the people doing the things down here on planet Earth. That will really help you understand. Okay, that will really round out your understanding of astrology.